Hi. Okay, I got a lot of good responses and comments about me making these Paris videos, so I thought I would just go ahead and do it. And a couple of people really wanted me to do it quickly because they're going in the next few months. So I'm going to do these fairly quickly, like one every other day till I'm finished. My husband and I actually sat down the other day and I made out a list of things that I want to talk about in different videos. Today, I'm just going to talk mainly today about where to stay, because that's one of the first things you're going to plan, and probably the most expensive thing you're going to plan, other than maybe airfare for if you have more than one person. The way I don't even remember how I found the apartments we stay in, or why I even decided to stay in an apartment instead of a hotel. I've never done that before, ever. But I kind of thought, I don't even know what I was thinking, because I was in that mode of canceling the cruise. Remember that story? Okay. So I'm just surfing the internet and somehow looking at hotels. I saw this apartment, maybe an ad or something, and we started using these people, and they're great. And I will link it below. However, I've shared this with some other people, and some people thought it was very expensive. I personally did not, because I feel like if you can find a hotel in Paris for under $200 that's decent, you're doing really good. So this apartment broke down to less than $200 a night. The first year we went, I think it was $1,000 for 7 nights. That's pretty good. Now, the prices have definitely gone up over the years, so they're more now, but different apartments cost differently. We tend to stay up in Montmartre, which, if you look at a map, it's where the big white church is, kind of on a hill. It's cheaper up there. The closer you get to the city center, the more expensive the apartments are. Like, we did that one year. We stayed in one of their apartments that was in the city closer, and it was tinier and more expensive. Now, the location was great, but particularly these apartments in Montmartre, there is such a good metro line down there that you can get anywhere in the city so quickly that it makes staying up there fine. And also, staying up there is really interesting. It's really different. There's all kind of people. It's not ritzy. It's the opposite sort of ritzy up there. I feel like it's safe up there, but it's just different, okay? It's really different. So my advice, if you want to find a cool place to stay, an apartment, is just go on the internet and search and search and search. Now, be careful, because if it seems like a deal too good to be true, it probably is. I remember a friend of mine, not a friend, someone on the internet wrote me a note and said, you know, I didn't stay at the apartments that you suggested. I stayed at some other ones that were a lot cheaper, and it was a nightmare. This was an apartment, evidently she didn't know this. The man was living in the apartment, and he like left, 10 minutes before they got there, and it was not clean. The towels were like used. I mean, seriously, it was not a pretty picture. Now, they managed, because you're not in the apartment that much, but my husband and I find it quite romantic to be in an apartment, because you just have a nice place to go in the evenings and relax, and it's like a home versus a hotel room. Now, you have to be brave to stay in an apartment, in my book, because there's nobody to ask a question to. Now, the people on most of these apartments that I know of, not just this company, but a lot of companies, and I'm going to link the company I use below. I've only tried one though, so, I don't know what to compare it to. But if you are staying in an apartment, okay, what they do is, most of these companies, I believe, they meet you when you land. They kind of know how long it's going to take you to get to the apartment. They meet you there. They open it up, show you how to work everything, and believe me, you won't remember a word they say. Thank goodness the apartments we stay in have a binder with directions for like the washer dryer, the dishwasher, which we never even tried to use because we just didn't. We washed everything by hand. Just different directions, maps of the area, just a lot. It was this thick. It was full of great information. But anyway, they meet you there. They check you in, sort of. They show you how to work the elevator, things that you're not going to know at all if it's your first time. How to get into the building. things like that. Now, they do leave you their cell phone numbers and say you can call anytime, day or night, to ask a question. Well, we weren't about to do that. There was just no way. So we had to scratch and claw our way to figure everything out on our own. But it made the trip so much better because you are so engrossed in what you're doing because you have to be. Because everything's odd and different and in French. So I didn't speak French when we went. So I still don't. I've tried. Believe me, I can't do it. I don't know what I'm saying. It's just your senses are on high alert because you just have to figure everything out. You know, you can't just sit back and relax like you can if you're an American in a hotel. Now, I'm talking to Americans, and I apologize for that because someone the other day just commented and said, I live in the UK, I'm going to go to Paris. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm such an American thinker. When I'm talking about airfare and everything, I'm obviously talking about from over here. So if you're from somewhere else, you go, especially if you're in the UK. I want to tell that girl in the UK, get on the train and go. It's cheap. It's easy. It takes 2 hours. Believe me, because we went from Paris to London on that train, and it was fabulous. I mean, I felt like the biggest international movie star being on that train because it was so cool. Anyway, okay, so back to the apartment. What are the advantages of staying in an apartment? Number one, I felt like it was cheaper for a much better thing. Now, if you have the money to go stay in the Four Seasons or what's that really expensive hotel, the Ritz, if you have the money to do that, you go for it, girl. But we didn't. So the advantages to me of staying in an apartment are, number one, you're getting much more of a Parisian feel because you're probably going to be the only renters in the apartment building. Maybe there's another one, but, you know, no one speaks English. No one even talks to you. No one even looks at you, really. But, I mean, they might nod their head, but, you know. So you kind of get such a bigger picture of what it's like to live there. Another great part of it is you can have your coffee in there. You can have meals in there. And I'm going to talk about eating in Paris, and I'll get more into this. But that saves a ton of money being able to eat in the apartment at different odd times. Tons of money, I felt like. Because, well, I'll get in there in the next video. But other advantages, it's quiet. I don't know. It's just the coolest experience to me versus a hotel, staying in one, because it was just homey and so romantic. I mean, the first one we stayed in, well, I'll tell you the ones we've stayed in. And when you go to the website, you'll see. There was the one-bedroom Sacré, which I don't know why they call it a one-bedroom, because it's not. It's one room. But they call it a one-bedroom Sacré. It has a balcony. There's two one-bedroom Sacré. One has an actual separate bedroom with a door, and one of them does not. You could see the difference. But they both have terraces. But the first one we stayed at was higher in the building, and it had a terrace, and you looked right up at the church. Oh my goodness, the church bells would ring and you know, Paris is not like the most sunshiny place, especially when we go in the fall. And so it's kind of dreary and cool, and there's a smell to that city that's just unmistakable. And you open those doors, and the breeze and the weird smell, and the church bell is just floating through the air. Yeah, I cannot tell you. I cannot tell you how great it is. I'll tell you one of my there's two favorite experiences in the hotel. And I'm already 9 minutes in, so I'm going to tell them the apartment. So I'm going to tell them really quick. The first one I remember so distinctly is the very first year we were there. It was about day 5. My husband wanted to go back and take a nap. And I'm like, oh, you can sleep next week when we're back in Florida. But, you know, I said, okay. So we go back to the apartment. He lays down. He falls asleep in 2 seconds. And I'm just kind of sitting there. I open the doors and everything. And it was one of those cool afternoons. And I'm just sitting and looking out. And all of a sudden, I can hear this harpist playing the harp in the building, somewhere in our building. And I just froze. And he was obviously, I call it a he. I don't know why. But he was practicing because he would make a mistake and stop and start over. But I mean, a mistake on a harp still sounds great, right? And I just sat there and I was just, it's a memory I'll never forget because it was so beautiful and haunting. And there were no other sounds. These buildings are so quiet. The French are so much more quiet than we are. And they're just soft-spoken. And they're just not loud and obnoxious. And oh my goodness, this guy was playing this harp. It went on for like 30 minutes. And it almost brings tears to my eyes because it was just so beautiful. I was so alone. I was looking out. It was just a perfect, cold, dreary afternoon, and it was just like it was being played just for me. And the thing that struck me the most, and I'm not knocking America, I love it here, it's my country. But I thought, gosh, if I was in America and someone was playing music in an apartment building I was living in, it would be rap music. And it would be loud, and it would be booming, and it would be obnoxious, and I would want to cry, right, and kill somebody. So that is what, oh my gosh, the cultural shift is just huge. Okay, second memory also has something to do with music. We were in a building one year, right literally across the street from Luxembourg Gardens. Now that was the tiniest apartment ever. That's on the website too. It was the coolest little tiny apartment, but just perfect for us, right? And so late one night, we were going to go to the opera, and we had tried to get tickets all week, and it was just sold out, and there was no way we were going to get tickets, and I was kind of bummed. And so that night, it was about 9 o'clock. We were in the apartment. That one also had double doors to open up onto. This one was looking onto a courtyard versus the church or whatever. This was looking onto a courtyard. And if you've seen that movie by Jimmy Stewart, Rear Window, Alfred Hitchcock, that's a courtyard, kind of like what we were looking at, but ours was smaller. But you know how you could sit and he could watch people? Well, everyone here had their curtains drawn. But what was so cool is you could hear just floating through the air, dishes being clanked, silverware. You could hear people cooking. You could smell all the different food was just going through the air, right? So you could smell this great food. You could hear that people were having conversations, but you certainly couldn't hear them enough to understand what they were saying, right? And I'm just standing there. I'm just fascinated by this whole scene just because it's so different from me in the suburbs in a house with all the doors shut and closed, you know what I'm saying. And all of a sudden, okay, so I was bummed about the opera, right? And as a joke, Scott gets on the internet and he pulls up that Bugs Bunny cartoon where he's doing the opera with Yosemite Sam. It's hysterical and it's so funny and it's like Figaro or something. And he goes, here's your opera. So we're watching that, we're laughing about it. Well, all of a sudden, we hear opera music. And we go, and we're listening. And someone had put on an opera, now I'm calling it a record because this is how I picture it. A big opera record, it's probably a CD, on the thing. And they're playing it loud in their apartment. But outside their apartment, it's just enough to hear it. And it's full on opera. And this goes on for like over an hour. It was so cool. It was like our private opera. We just laid in that bed and could, all the wind, you know, the curtains are blowing. And I mean, I'm telling you, it was a moment that it's another memory I'll never forget because it's just so different. So I would totally suggest apartments. I think they're great. I'll go into it more in my next video, which I'm going to do soon. I also want to do this really quick in case some of these girls are going soon. And I think I showed you this already, but this is the book I'm talking about that's so good. I showed you this in another video. I know I did. This is the book, Eyewitness Travel Paris, that's so good that we use. And we put sticky notes and the different things we want to do and not forget to go see. This is almost always with us because, yeah. This is another one that we used because it's smaller and it's kind of cool. It's broken up into the different areas. But what's cool is here's some highlights of the area and then here's the map. And this map is super easy. See, that's a street we searched for one day, so finally I had to highlight it. It's super easy to follow. And I think I got this at like Barnes & Noble. It says KNOPF Map Guides Paris. So that's another good one, just because it's smaller and not as heavy in your backpack. This is kind of heavy, but can't live without it, right? Okay, so that's my first video, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I will link the apartment down below of all the, I was going to tell you, we've stayed at 2 different ones in, the street is called Charles Nodier. Now I'm saying it like it's spelled. That's not how you say it, but it's Charles Nodier. We stayed in one apartment on Rue Courteau. It's a studio, not a 1-bedroom, but I don't remember what they call it on the website, but it's on Rue, Ruecourtot. The other one we stayed at is was the one by Luxembourg. I think it's the only one they have that's over there. It's on, I think, Rue Madame. I'm not sure. So that's the 4 that we've used that we loved. So anyway, that's all I have for today, and I will get back to you in a day or 2. Thanks. Bye-bye.